You can see here my portfolio, and a guy that I really like from a big school, Shane, is Eddie Lacy. And if you scroll down here in the overall expert rankings, which are compiled by the numerous draft experts that contribute to Play the Draft, Eddie Lacy right now is trading as the number 33 overall player. I see him as a first-round talent. So if you could just comment, Shane, on Eddie Lacy as a draft prospect, and also where you see him being on drafted on draft day, and whether this would be a good value or not to add to your portfolio.
Yeah, I think he would be a good value at this point. His stock is kind of falling, I think, in a lot of people's eyes. I think people see Eddie Lacy because of the injury to his hamstring. He hasn't been able to run for NFL teams. When he did, it didn't go so well. So people are starting to get a little tenuous about him, but that can provide a nice value at Play the Draft. I love Eddie Lacy a lot. I think he reminds me a lot of Jerome Bettis coming out of Notre Dame, this big-bodied guy that can run you over, but he has the nimble feet, and he keeps his feet moving, so it's tough to tackle him even if you go low on him. That's what makes Eddie Lacy so special. And we saw last year Trent Richardson, his ex-teammate, had an injury going into the offseason, kind of lingered on, had some questions about it. Eddie Lacy's not in his class, but I think Eddie Lacy will go maybe late first round, probably more likely to go in the early second round. I think he'll still be the first running back off the board, though might be competing with a couple guys for that. So if his stock keeps falling down there and Play the Draft, I think you have to gobble him up, and especially with what he can do for an NFL team, I think some team that needs a running back can start Eddie Lacy from day one.
And do you see him as a full-time, three-down back that's going to be able to contribute right away?
Absolutely, and I think he's one of the few in this draft. I like the running back class's depth, but to get a three-down player is going to be very difficult. I think that's what Eddie Lacy brings to the table, because he's big enough that he's 230 pounds, so you can set him up against the defensive end, you can set him up against an outside linebacker in a 3-4, and he's going to give them a mammoth of a guy to block. He's going to block them. He's effective at that. He's a little bit better at catching the ball than I think a lot of people give him credit for. That's how these running backs get in as rookies, and that's how Eddie Lacy, I think, is going to earn some early playing time more than some backs that could go pretty close to him.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here from our very own draft expert tonight, Shane Hallam with Play the Draft. Eddie Lacy at 33 is probably where we can expect him to be drafted. So in the meantime, this next week, I'd like to be making a little more money with my portfolio. So Eddie Lacy, it's time to take a hike.